Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 324th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the MSP studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cameron. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Producer Cameron and I have been sitting here in the studio for about four and a half hours.
4.5, yeah.
Just hanging out.
Trying to get stuff done, not doing it.
Yeah.
I love that.
We didn't have to go to work in person, so might as well take half the day to, sit in the studio and hang out.
Hope your bosses aren't listening.
Yeah.
I'm my own boss.
Me too.
Look at you guys.
There we go.
Look at you.
Today, anyway.
Did you watch that basketball game?
Yes, I did. It was great.
We'll talk about that. Anything non-Mizzou that we need to talk about?
Probably.
There's not usually.
That's true.
I wonder if you have anything in that pocket.
In this?
Yeah.
Nothing.
I'd like to put something in there.
I wish I had something in there.
But by the time the episode's over, I'll find something for you.
Okay. Thanks.
No, you're looking good.
I forgot to, sometimes I like to bring a shirt after work to put on for the podcast. I don't want to look too serious.
Well,
this is not a real serious
You don't want to
podcast.
make us look bad either.
That's true.
Which we appreciate.
That's true. But I had no choice today. I had to show you up. I had to roll in wearing a nice little shirt.
Oh, yeah. Looking good.
You wear a collar most days?
Yeah. Most days, probably.
How about you?
No. I wear hats to meetings.
Wow.
Nobody says
what
anything.
a rebel. You be careful, though. Put that in the employee handbook next year.
Wouldn't be the first time they tried.
Yeah, we're going to talk about basketball. We're going to talk about football. Another football season has come and gone. And before we do that, don't forget to subscribe. Do all that stuff. And yeah,
It's not fair that college football season is as fast as it is.
No.
There's like other sports like the NBA where it like ends in like July and starts in October.
Yes.
Like, and then the like NBA fans are like, "Yay, the NBA's back!"
Yeah.
When it's October and it's been gone for like 2.5 months.
Uh-huh.
Like, do you know how long for college football fans? Like,
You're jealous.
The wait is excruciating.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. But I get it. I get it. It's a violent sport.
They're student athletes, Kyle.
That's true.
Come on. Give them a break. They're trying to get their degrees out here.
That's true.
Some of them. But that basketball game, Missouri Tiger basketball came back from down 18 to the California Golden Bears. And with 63 points in the second half, Missouri won 98-93.
That was one of the wildest games I've ever watched.
Yeah.
I mean, we were all like collectively the Missouri fan base was like ready to like fire Dennis Gates mid-game.
Yeah.
I think. And then everybody had to delete their tweets and own up
to
everything they said.
Yeah. It shouldn't have been that kind of game. Honestly, the first half was horrendous, excruciatingly bad.
Well, I mean, there was like a massive run though, really.
Yeah.
Like the first half was fine, but the last like 5 minutes were awful.
Yeah. Cal went on a 17-0 run.
Yeah. And it was like in a 3-minute span is what it felt like.
Yeah. Missouri started the second half on a 14-1 run. So they were back in the game. Missouri took the lead, I think, with like 10 minutes left in the game still. So that was kind of a whirlwind for them to come all the way back and take a nice little lead by like multiple possessions with that much time still left. But Anthony Robinson, man, he had that go-to move with the pick and roll, and then he would just pin his defender, the guy that was defending the pick and roll. He would just pin him behind him.
Yeah.
Take it in for a layup.
Yeah.
Did that like 6 or 7 times.
That's one of my favorite things about college sports, honestly, is just seeing the progression of a young player becoming a better player, a bigger difference maker. And sometimes it takes a lot longer than 1 year and 5 games.
Yeah.
And I want to give you a shout out, Cameron, because you've been a big Anthony Robinson fan publicly. And I became a bit of a doubter. I won't lie. I became a little bit impatient, and I struggled to see it last year, like how it was going to work out.
Well,
And I was even like, okay, if he had transferred this offseason, I was kind of just like, well, you know what? That's whatever.
yeah.
That's
I mean,
okay.
is anybody going to be too upset when you lose a player off a 0-18 conference season? Yeah, there was a lot to doubt last year, I think, but it's like there was just him being a freshman. It was like, okay, there's enough little bits of something here.
Yeah, the measurables.
Yeah.
And what he had done in high school, but
29.6 assists last night. Was that just last night? 2 nights ago.
yeah, no, it was
okay.
Tuesday night.
Yeah. Mark Mitchell had 21 points as well. He's been pretty solid so far. Marquez Warwick, he has heated up a little bit. He actually started the season 0 for 5 from 3, and since then is 12 of 23.
He wasn't even earning minutes in some of those first few games.
No, the rotations have been wild. Honor Boateng has started the last 2 games and played a combined 7 minutes.
I don't get that.
What purpose does that serve? Is there there's something in his contract that he has to start a certain amount of games?
I love how you're just saying it in his contract, like openly. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, it's not impossible.
What would be the reason for that, though?
I feel like Dennis Gates was doing that last year,
Yeah.
though. That's got to be one of the biggest things I just don't understand about him.
He starts the game, plays 4 minutes against Cal. Starts the game, plays 3 minutes against Lindenwood.
Lindenwood.
I don't understand. But also, Anthony Robinson getting to the free throw line 15 times, 13 of 15 from the line.
We've missed that.
Yeah.
The last couple seasons, like getting to the free throw line.
The free throw shooting still wasn't great, only 66%. But I tell you what was great, 2-point field goal shooting. Missouri shot 73% from 2 against Cal. And
That's incredible.
90% in the second half.
Yeah, I think they shot like 85% from the field in the second half.
Crazy. Caleb Grill was out with that neck injury that he suffered against Lindenwood. I still don't exactly know what happened. Like he took an elbow to the neck, or just like it got like his head got pulled on and like kind of whiplashed his neck a little bit.
Essentially, yes. But it sounds like he's okay.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like he'll probably play again.
He was rocking a neck brace at the game, but I read that the night of the injury, he was like in the hospital getting checked out and stuff, and that he like sent Coach Gates a message saying he's good to go, and he was like jogging in place in his like hospital room.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that great news that it wasn't anything serious. I mean, they had to bring out the stretcher for him and everything, like on the court. Like it was really, really scary.
So Missouri basketball 7-1. That Cal win is better than any other win on the schedule so far. However, Cal is 114th in KenPom, which would be last in the SEC by about 20 spots. So
I was surprised to see Cal ranked that low. But they haven't played anybody this season either.
Yeah. And there's a big matchup this Sunday at home. We're welcoming the Kansas Jayhawks. Would you believe DeJuan Harris is still on that team?
That's insane.
He was the same recruiting class as Mario McKinney.
I mean, legitimately, he's got to be like 24 years old.
Yeah. They still have DeJuan Harris, and he's going to be like one of the best point guards in the country because he's just literally, I don't know of like the college point guard that just steadily gets better year over year and is still in college as a grown man, 24 years old. Mm-hmm. That just like is not going to the NBA, but just one of the greatest point guards in the history of their university.
It's so crazy.
He's like if you look up that archetype, it's him.
He was supposed to go to Missouri State.
Yeah. He committed, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah. Wild. Also, they have Hunter Dickinson, and they're 7-0 this year. They already beat Duke, North Carolina, and Michigan State. So they've had a little bit tougher schedule than Missouri so far. They're ranked 6th in KenPom. I will not be making a prediction.
That's fine.
Oh, man.
Missouri can win that game.
Of course. It's a home game. Let's get running. Get the
crowd
tempo
going.
up.
Just don't lose the game in the first 5 minutes, please.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically what happened last time at Missouri Arena.
Yeah.
At Mizzou Arena, I mean. We were there.
Mm-hmm.
It was the most hype, 10 minutes of my life.
Yes.
And it was over quickly.
Mm-hmm. We had that one Aiden Shaw dunk in the second half that brought
us
down
to our feet.
Yes. Speaking of Aiden Shaw dunks, he had a crazy alley-oop against Cal.
I think he could grab a rim if it was 16 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Tamar Bates, couple great dunks.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. KenPom has Kansas winning by 6, which means that's close enough that anybody can win. It really still feels like a mystery of a Mizzou basketball team, though. Especially, it'll be interesting to see how long Caleb Grill is out. I've been a little underwhelmed so far by Tony Perkins.
Yeah, I wonder if he's still just hampered by the injury a little bit. The mystery injury.
Right.
That is something that about this era of college basketball is I feel like it probably just takes teams a while to blend.
Right.
Since it's all new teams, all new guys playing with all new people.
Right.
He's had enough experience in college basketball that I think he's going to get better as the season goes on. But I agree, it's he's been a little mistake prone, a little bit of a liability.
We've gotten even less from Jacob Cruz.
Yeah,
probably.
But that's not super surprising to me, at least coming in from a pretty low level.
Yeah.
Kind of feels like a dynamite guy off the bench. Maybe if you can catch lightning in a bottle, he might hit 5 threes in a night or something. But
yeah, feels like he needs to carve out a role as a spot-up shooter, but the ball's just not really finding him in spots that make sense. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really see him being a consistent contributor.
There's some good minutes from Peyton Marshall against Cal.
Yeah.
Needed that.
He had a couple of shots that went in where I'm just I have no idea how he got that to go in, but he just kind of muscled them up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see Marshall really carving out an important role, maybe down the line a little bit. Maybe not this year, but as he continues to kind of figure out the college game, I could see him being a force.
And I feel like, against Cal, we saw quite a bit of Mark Mitchell and Aiden Shaw in the game at the same time, playing in the post, but both kind of, neither one of them is a true center. So basically playing Mark Mitchell at the 5, and they've just been switching everything on defense as much as they can. But like we talked about preseason, when the first time we talked about this team, they were KenPom had them 50th on offense and 60th on defense. And we were we kind of predicted that those numbers would drift up away from each other. And that's exactly what's happened so far. The offense efficiency has jumped up to 34th, and the defense has slid to 96th.
Yeah, I think Missouri's still got to just continue to be aggressive and try to take advantage of transition buckets, just the style of play that they have. I don't know if they're getting enough out of transition buckets right now.
Yeah,
they did that so well in Dennis Gates' first season, and they were kind of able to sustain it for most of the season. So I think they got to keep leaning on that aggressive defensive style and try to maximize those opportunities.
And they are 10th in steal percentage defense. Yep. So if that overall efficiency rating on defense is not going to be great, if they're top 10 in steals through SEC play, then we'll have something there.
I mean, that's exactly basically that was the formula in the first season. Was you gotta force those turnovers. Last year's team did not do that, and they maximize those opportunities even far less than they are this season.
Right. All right, that's probably enough for basketball. Big game this weekend. And man, the SEC is so good. They destroyed the ACC in that little cross conference battle.
Yeah,
Auburn is number 1 in KenPom. Tennessee's number 2.
Yeah, the SEC went 9-1 in the SEC ACC Challenge. Kentucky was the only team that lost.
Of course.
Cal is in the ACC. First of all, the Golden Bears. That's kind of a funny mascot. They're in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Of course. They're close to the Atlantic Ocean.
Imagine their travel schedule.
Terrible.
Golly.
I was looking at Tennessee's roster. They've got that guy Felix Okpara that transferred from Ohio State that I really wanted Dennis Gates to go after. And of course, he's doing really well at Tennessee. They also have, what was I looking at? Who ended up with maybe, I was trying to find the kid from Pepperdine, not Javon Porter. I thought he went to one of those big time. Did he go to Kansas?
I don't know.
I can't find him now. I like clicking through KenPom and checking on all those old names of players that we remember or recruited or
just live on the show.
Missed on the transfer portal.
Exactly.
Let's move on to football. Mizzou football finishes the regular season with a 28-21 win over Arkansas in the snow in Columbia, Missouri.
Come on, Piggy.
They called the Hogs and just destroyed them.
They didn't show up.
Yeah. That was kind of a weird game being in the snow. Early on, neither offense could really figure things out. Everybody was sliding around a little bit.
Yeah. The field conditions got worse as the game went on too.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt like maybe only Theo Weiss was the only Mizzou receiver that could get any traction. He made a couple guys miss on a catch, had that really long catch and run. It was almost a touchdown. But Coach Drinkwitz said in the postgame interview that Arkansas was running a lot of crossing routes so they could just kind of get their guys' momentum going and they wouldn't have to stop or change direction or anything. And maybe we should have been doing more than that, but we don't like to throw the ball over the middle too much.
No, we don't.
Weiss ended up with 4 catches for 100 yards. Burden, 1 catch for 11 yards. And it was that huge third down catch that kept the drive going. They really needed.
Had a 2-point conversion as well.
2-point conversion, that's true. We got to see a close to the final form of one of those 2-point conversion plays. We've seen Jamal Roberts take that direct snap and just run it in a few times now. And Brady Cook always comes around the option is there for the reverse. And then even then, he could keep it or he could pass it, but they ran it to perfection. And after watching Georgia and Georgia Tech do their 2-point conversion shootout 7 times the other night.
That was a crazy game.
I was thinking, man, I'd like to see Kirby Moore really have to pull out all the stops. And I want to see 5 different 2-point conversions from Kirby Moore's offense all in a row.
All of the iterations.
Yes. But Missouri's defense showed up again, forced multiple turnovers. Taylon Green, though, man, he was pretty good. I was impressed by him. And he's been making plays all season and is a little bit volatile, I think, is a little bit mistake prone. But his ability to get rid of the ball with defenders around him, some of the best I've seen all year.
Yeah, he's a really talented player. And honestly, don't tell Arkansas I said this, but I think we were a little bit fortunate to play this game in the snow.
Yeah.
Because I think it neutralized him a little bit. Because he's so good at moving around and kind of creating on the fly, and he's got a good arm. And I think the snow neutralized him just a little bit, just enough to where he wasn't able to totally take control of the ground game. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it kind of forced both teams to play their more conservative, time of possession, minimize mistakes type of game.
Missouri is elite at doing that.
Exactly. And obviously got a couple turnovers, and but even late, I mean, he put them in a couple spots where that one throw to the end zone when they were driving to have to tie it, I was so thankful that Missouri was up 7.
Yes.
Any less than that, I would have been legitimately concerned there at the end.
Both of those plays, I feel like those balls could have been caught in the end zone.
And the one almost ended up at interception.
Yeah.
They ran out of real estate over there.
Yeah.
It's a nice play regardless. That one was very close to a touchdown. They had a couple, him and Armstrong, that wide receiver, a couple plays, like 3rd and long. There was one 4th down conversion that was excellent.
Yeah.
Throw and catch.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if he's playing for Arkansas next year. I think he still has some eligibility left.
I think so.
Interested to see what Bobby Petrino is doing next year.
Yeah. I could see, with the way their season went, I could see them running it back one more time with basically the same setup.
Yeah. They I would say they exceeded expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They the offense definitely, Arkansas's offense looked good enough that I think you can run that side of the field, that side of the ball back and not change a whole lot. But that means Missouri ends the regular season 9-3 with a chance with a bowl game to have back-to-back double-digit win seasons. Mm-hmm. You always like to have that possibility out there. But 9-3 after getting 11 wins last year, the momentum is here. It's also National Signing Day. We'll get to that in a minute. But with the recruiting wins, getting 9 wins this year, well, let's try to put it in perspective a little bit. It really felt all season long, in my opinion. I know other people didn't, because of the way the losses happened. A lot of people would say Missouri was out of the playoff conversation a lot earlier, but it felt all season long 10-2 was going to put you right there in the conversation. How those 2 losses happen would put you on the good or bad side of the bubble, probably.
Yeah.
And we're kind of seeing that with South Carolina, because they're 9-3, but their losses were not nearly as bad as Missouri's, and they had the win over, now I'm blanking on it, Tennessee tapi? I can't remember.
I can't either.
But they actually had a good win. Texas A&M. They had a good win where Mizzou did not. But if you're looking at the playoff standings or the playoff rankings, after beating Clemson, South Carolina is sitting at like 13th, I think. That's right where Missouri would be.
Yeah.
If they had beat South Carolina.
Yeah.
They were so close to that.
Yeah. I think that's going to hurt for a while. It already does, but the fact that Missouri didn't close out that game against South Carolina, it's really unfortunate. And I definitely think they would have given themselves a shot to make it at 10-2, especially just with the landscape of college football and nobody really rising to the top. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of like solid teams. They squarely would have been in the mix, even with the way they lost. There's 2 games.
Right. I agree. Yeah, because Brady Cook wasn't there for the Alabama game. Ole Miss at 9-3 is sitting at 13th. South Carolina at 9-3 is 14th. You'd be in the conversation for sure. Probably like first, second, or third team out, maybe, when it's all said and done. Looking at the playoff rankings right here, and Arizona State and Iowa State are 15th and 16th. They're playing in the Big 12 championship. It looks
Winner gets in.
Yeah, looks like the playoff committee kind of set themselves up there, where it's like one of these, the winner of this game is going to get in. Doesn't matter how bad you are.
Yeah,
I'll probably be rooting for whoever the Big 12 champion is to get just destroyed in the first round. They'll probably be the 12 seed. I saw some places had Alabama as the 12 seed. I feel like we're just finally at the point where you can even start to make sense of it all.
Yeah.
And like,
I feel like I need to like see it happen to even know
exactly
how it's going to work.
Yeah,
with
honestly.
the 12-team playoff.
I'm the type that I would love to be like projecting it ahead of time and like guessing what's going to happen. But I couldn't even wrap my head around
moving parts.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of little rules and stuff.
Yeah. Looking at some of the end of season stats, the offense as a whole, just a dramatic step backwards from last season in just like raw yardage. Brady Cook, 2,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The leading receivers on the season, Theo Weiss, 55 catches, 800 yards, 3 touchdowns. Luther Burden, 61 catches, 676 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Mookie Cooper was third with 12 receptions for 235 yards. Losing all three of those guys from the receiver room, those receptions, those three guys totaled 55% of the team's receptions, 65% of the receiving yards, and 75% of the receiving touchdowns. So it'd be a lot to replace there.
Yeah, next year's going to be interesting.
And with the running backs, they actually ended up being more even in their final stats than I would have expected, like mid-season when it looked like Nate Noel was the guy. Mm-hmm. But if you go back to preseason, I think this makes a lot of sense. Nate Noel, 150 carries, 800 yards, 3 touchdowns. Marcus Carroll, 134 carries, 578, and 12 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So they had their roles, and they both did well. Mm-hmm. Missouri's rushing attack between those two guys and Brady Cook on the ground was pretty impressive all season.
Yeah. The passing game clearly just wasn't as efficient as it was last year for whatever reason. I'm not sure we'll ever truly figure that out. It just didn't quite seem to make sense why the passing game just never connected. But yeah, I think both running backs were really good. They kind of ended up finding a role for Marcus Carroll. He was a little MIA in like the middle of the season. Mm-hmm. But he really turned it on at the end when Noel had to miss a couple games from injury. And even really when Noel was available at the end of the year, Carroll was out-snapping him, if I'm not mistaken.
In the Arkansas game, especially. Yeah. Coach Drinkwitz said it was hard, like you had to really want to tackle in that environment, like when it's cold and every hit hurts and you hit the ground and it's frozen. Mm-hmm. So his thought process was Marcus Carroll's pretty hard to tackle no matter what. So let's just roll him out there, and they're going to want to tackle him even less in the snowy. Looking at defense, Corey Flagg Jr. led the team in tackles with 76. Tristan Newsom was right there. Marvin Burks right there behind him. Johnny Walker Jr., 7.5 sacks on the season. Drayden Norwood, 2 interceptions. 5 different Tigers had an interception on the season. Toriano Pride was the lone pick 6. Zion Young had that.
First 5 minutes of the season.
Yeah, I got to see that live. And we got to see Zion Young's scoop and score live for another defensive touchdown. Defensively, though, I was so impressed game after game with their ability to slow down other teams' rushing attacks. And it seems like they sold out to do that a few times, and they got burned in the passing game. But if you're dominating the line of scrimmage in the rushing attack on offense and defense, you're going to have a pretty successful season. Mm-hmm. And I felt like Missouri was able to lean on that and get wins where if you're not quite elite, then some of those toss-up games, like the Auburn game, having that edge on the line of scrimmage made the difference. And we found some interesting team stats, like rankings with this Missouri team across the country. They were number 7 in time of possession offense, which was a recurring theme week after week. They were 16th in third down conversion percentage offense and 4th in third down percentage defense. So one of the very best defenses in the country at turning teams away on third down.
Yeah, it's so interesting, like kind of breaking it down like this granularly because it's like didn't really feel like the game flowed that well, like ever at any point. We didn't really take risks. We didn't have explosive plays very often, but we just kind of find these micro edges, like time of possession, being really consistent on third down on offense and defense. Like we kind of just found these little niches to just dominate. And just, I think that's what led to kind of ugly wins. Like we just kind of made the game ugly, took the flow out of things, and just kind of beat you with like sheer power with our offensive line, our in the trenches and on third down.
We talked about, I think it was last week, we talked about Blake Craig and how I thought they should have gone for it on fourth down in the red zone more, and they were kind of putting him out there too much as a redshirt freshman, so he was just kind of bound to miss a lot of kicks when you put him out there that much when he's this young. And sure enough, Blake Craig finished the regular season with the most field goal attempts in the country at 32.
That's crazy.
And he was fourth in makes. And I just think, whatever, we won 9 games, that's fine. But you don't want to be, as a team, they were tied for second in the country in red zone field goal attempts. And maybe that was red zone field goal makes. But basically, they're getting in the red zone, stalling out a little bit, and having to kick field goals.
Yeah.
And there was plenty of opportunity to go for it on fourth down, not put your freshman kicker out there to miss a 43-yarder.
Yeah.
And extend a drive and maybe get a touchdown out of it that changes the game or two.
Yeah, I definitely think that stat can kind of like give us some indications of problems in the offense, like breaking down in other places. And Missouri only had 7 passing touchdowns when they were in the red zone this season. And some of that, I think, is just their complete unwillingness to throw over the middle. Like they were just had to throw into the back corner of like every red zone pass attempt is what it felt like.
And is that just being so risk averse that you're like, we're
guess.
only going to make throws that are either a touchdown or out of bounds? Like we're going to use the sideline to help us. I don't know. And
I would love to know why that's happening, honestly, because that's been a thing since Coach Drinkwitz has been here. I feel like it's just red zone inefficiencies. And I do wonder if that's just that risk averse nature showing up in different ways.
And obviously, we're big fans of Brady Cook, but being like realistic and honest with his limitations as a thrower, he has thrown the ball really well at times in his Mizzou career. But I just wonder how much of the game plan is catering to his strengths and weaknesses as a thrower specifically. And I don't know. We'll talk about the transfer portal and the recruiting class and stuff. And I can't help, as much as I love Brady Cook, I can't help but think like, if you've got a quarterback who just has a little bit more arm talent, a little bit more zip, able to fit it in some tighter windows, anticipate a little bit better, then are they going to be more aggressive in those situations? Are they being like, we know what we have here talent-wise. We are going to do everything we can to win games within these constraints. Our game plan is to do exactly that.
Yep. I think that's probably it, honestly. And they did a pretty good job, if that's the case.
Yeah. So Missouri's offense was like towards the very top in red zone scoring percentage, but skewed by how many of those scores were field goals.
Yeah.
And I think you saw like Alabama was like the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. Alabama's like overall like scoring in the red zone was only like 86%. It was lower than Missouri's, but they had like 35 total touchdowns to Missouri's like 25.
Yeah.
So they were just being more aggressive. They were just being more efficient and finishing in the red zone.
Overall, though, how disappointed are you not making the playoff? 9-3, getting blown out twice.
I don't know. I don't know if I am disappointed that we didn't make the playoff. I mean, to some extent, yes, maybe. I think I'm a little bit disappointed in how we showed up in a couple of those big games. Especially A&M. I think that's probably the most disappointing moment of the entire season. Just looking completely unprepared and out of sorts by having to play against Wigman, and it felt like they were not ready for that. And I know we've talked about that some, but I think that was really, really disappointing, and I'm not sure we ever totally bounced back from that game. And
Right.
Alabama was a little bit of a different story just because of Brady Cook's injuries and stuff. But A&M game should not have gone that way, and to be completely removed from it in the first quarter, I don't know. I think it kind of set a different course for the season.
Yeah. In fact, you and I were talking about in the during the Arkansas game. You want to, anytime you lose a game, you wish you could have another shot at it. But if we were playing back any of those 3 losses, I would feel best about playing against Texas A&M. I'd rather have a rematch opportunity against A&M than South Carolina, I think. Probably part of that's
fair.
how good Sellers looked against us, and then he was balling out against Clemson as well.
I think we gave A&M some bulletin board material that week. We had, maybe not even on purpose, but we did. And the whole quarterback situation was really unfortunate timing. And they kind of fell apart. I think they just kind of played out of their minds that game, and it was just really unfortunate timing for Missouri.
Yeah, they had much closer wins after that. Lost to South Carolina, lost to Auburn, lost to Texas. Ridiculous. Missouri finished 5-3 in the SEC, which I got to count them real quick. There was Missouri was one of 6 teams at 5-3 in the final standings. Texas 7-1, Georgia and Tennessee 6-2. It would feel so much better to be sitting right there at 6-2 with Georgia and Tennessee. You just got to put yourself in a position where, like, a tiebreaker, you want to be a tiebreaker away from playing in the SEC championship. And just the margin of error, when you have Texas at 7-1, there's 8 teams that were 5-3 or better.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, we just didn't really show up in the toss-up games. I'm super happy. We beat 2 of our biggest rivals in Oklahoma and Arkansas. So it was great to get wins in those games, just for the fan battles on Twitter, and for the next 8 months until we wait for the next season to start. And welcoming Oklahoma to the SEC and beating them in the first game was super fun. But yeah, I would say I'm mildly disappointed with just how we didn't show up in some of those other toss-up games, and ultimately weren't in the playoff picture by the end of the year.
Yeah,
but it was still had some fun moments.
Very fun. I mean, we didn't want to be in overtime against Vanderbilt, but that was a fun experience.
Yeah, that was super fun. I will say one of the most excited moments I've ever had watching a game came in the South Carolina game when Luther Burden had his kind of like one-handed touchdown to put us ahead with a minute to go.
Yeah.
Man, I was going berserk.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that didn't last for long.
Right.
But there were definitely some high highs.
Yeah, coming back against Auburn, the Brady Cook at the hospital, all that.
Yes.
Crazy.
Some great moments.
And we're not done talking about this team over the next few weeks. I want to talk about Brady Cook a lot in particular and some of these other players that are moving on. But just looking at the transfer portal real quick, there's so much going on. It's going to be hard for us to even cover a fraction of it. But one name that has jumped out early is USC quarterback Miller Moss. He entered the portal. Coach Drinkwitz follows his mom on Twitter. Power Mizzou is reporting, their sources are saying Moss is an top early target for Drinkwitz. He had 2,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions in 9 games for USC, including all the way back at the beginning of the season. We talked about their game in Las Vegas against LSU. He had 378 passing yards and a touchdown when they beat LSU, first game of the season. They had kind of an up and down year. USC lost some games. They had another quarterback transfer in last offseason who's a year younger. And with 3 games to go, they turned over the keys to the offense to him. And Miller Moss was like, okay, no big deal. I'll go somewhere else for my last season. This was his only year starting at USC. He backed up Caleb, what's his name?
Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams, yeah. He backed him up the last couple seasons. And he is right now, Miller Moss is the number 1 player in the On3 transfer portal rankings.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of talk about what's Missouri going to do at quarterback next year. Are we going to take a rebuilding year and just go with whoever wins the battle between Drew Pine and Sam Horn, if Horn's ready to go? Do we look for like the best quarterback we can possibly find in the portal? And I just say, why not?
Yeah.
Why not just take a big swing and see who we can get? Having a competent quarterback can go a really long way, even with a bunch of question marks everywhere else. So I like the strategy. You got Kansas on the schedule next season. I want to be the best we can possibly be next year.
Well, and last offseason, everything was like Missouri's going all in for this upcoming season. They're getting these 1-year transfers. They're going all in to win. I think that's every year.
Yeah, why not?
You're gonna
A year is a long time.
Yeah,
It's a long time to wait if your team isn't very good.
right.
It's a lot of suffering.
And so I just can't imagine Coach Drinkwitz and company being like, our quarterback situation's a little rough. Like, we got Horn, Drew Pine, we got the freshman Zollers coming in. One of those guys will be good enough to win 6 games.
There's no college football draft where
Right.
you get rewarded for being bad.
Right. You don't get the number 1 pick.
Yep.
Mississippi State is not getting the number 1 pick in the SEC.
It's a brutal world out there. Yeah, I would be really excited about Miller Moss if he were to come to Missouri. It sounds like that's a legitimate possibility.
Yeah.
Missouri's squarely in the mix. There's other big players too, but I would feel really good about that.
Texas A&M quarterback Connor Wigman entered the transfer portal. You got any interest there?
Not really. I would like to just get that man out of my mind. He's living rent free.
He only plays well against Missouri.
There you go.
So, do you remember Matthew Sluka, UNLV quarterback who
familiar.
quit, who entered the?
Oh yeah.
He set out to redshirt and all that.
Oh, it's his time to shine now.
Yeah, that's another guy that I'll be following his name in the transfer portal.
Absolutely.
See what happens there. Also, Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold has entered the portal. And I'm pretty sure Oklahoma maybe already has their guy lined up because they hired Washington State offensive coordinator to be their new offensive coordinator. And then a little bit later, Washington State's quarterback entered the transfer portal. So everybody's kind of assuming that he's going to follow his coach to Oklahoma and will be their new starter. John Mateer, I think is his name, the quarterback. He was on my short list. I was looking at if these guys go in the portal, they're going to be hot commodities. He was one of them, and Oklahoma might have found a way to kind of avoid the competition there by bringing his coach over. But I feel go get a quarterback. Go get the starter. I mean,
Yeah, I'm a big Sam Horn fan. If he's ready to go, then I'm totally happy with him being in the competition. But you might as well go out there and find the best guy you can and play the best guy. Struggled with that one there.
and I feel like, with how much production is leaving at wide receiver and running back, I'm not shocked at all if they take a swing at a wide receiver and a running back who will be on the field a lot.
Yeah, they went out there and got Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll in the same offseason. There are numerous high-performing mid-level players out there with similar profiles, I'm sure, that would love to play in the SEC.
And the portal season has just started.
Yeah.
Now, with that, getting Miller Moss on board early would be huge. If they can find a way to wrap up that, because guys are committing out of the portal already.
Yeah.
He's had a little bit of time that he knew he was going to be leaving USC. He already has a degree from USC, so he was kind of able to start that process early and was already replaced as the starter. So I could see him wanting to get this process over quickly if he likes a spot and go and start getting used to the new place. If he goes elsewhere, if he goes to, I feel like Louisville, Michigan, and Iowa have been mentioned for him, as well as Mizzou. I feel like if he goes to Louisville, that I could see that maybe happening. I don't really see him going to Michigan or Iowa. Unless a big name comes out that's super interested in him, man, I feel like Mizzou could wrap this up quickly. And if they don't, then it might be we're looking at a situation where we're bringing somebody in who's not the guaranteed starter. There's going to be a 3 or 4 way competition for the spot.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have talked about Castellanos too from Boston College. I think I'd be a little bit underwhelmed. He's got some skills, but I don't know if he would be my first choice. But I think you're looking at that caliber of player potentially if you don't land Moss.
Yeah, and somebody who's going to come in and compete for the job. Whereas if you land Moss, it's his job.
Yeah,
and you're tailoring the offense to his strengths and weaknesses, just like he did Brady Cook.
Yeah.
I think Moss is actually a similar player to Cook, not a threat on the ground like Cook was, but as far as throwing the ball, he is like a better. He can make more throws than Brady Cook, but his strength is not arm strength. He's more of a precision passer, but I think he anticipates well. And watching some of his highlights, he's making some big time throws. And that brings us to National Signing Day, where Missouri has gotten enough signatures to have the number 19 recruiting class for 2025, according to 24/7 Sports. Before signing day, or here in the days leading up to signing day, they did lose running back Jamarion Morrow and 5-star offensive lineman Lamont Rogers, both to Texas A&M. So that hurt a little bit. Rogers, that was like everybody knew that was coming. We were just waiting for the announcement. Morrow was a little bit of a surprise, but Coach Drinkwitz turned around and got 2 other guys that were committed elsewhere to commit to Mizzou today. So it was kind of an eventful last 48 hours before signing day, where we got some new names come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Decommitted or chose Mizzou at the last minute.
I'd be so interested to know how that works.
Oh, yeah.
Like we got a spot open. Who wants it?
Well, and Coach Drinkwitz was talking about how he usually has like 2 weeks after the last game to kind of like finish up the last visits, like lock everybody in, he was even talking about like giving everybody the latest details on the NIL situation. And he was like, this year, you're just kind of along for the ride and hope it doesn't go bad. But obviously, the signing class is headlined by quarterback Matt Zollers, who we already talked about. And some of the top guys from this class, Zollers at quarterback, Oluk Bode, wide receiver from Florida, originally from St. Louis area, and a newcomer to the class that was just announced today, edge rusher Javian Hilson, listed at 6'3", 225, the number 16 player in the country, according to Rivals, former Florida State commit.
It's absolutely insane. Like, that's the caliber of a player that we would be watching for years. Like if he was from Missouri. I'd never heard of this guy before today. He's a 5-star edge rusher.
Yes.
It's absolutely insane that that just dropped out of nowhere, seemingly.
Yeah. You watch it, like you see guys who like clearly are the best high school player on their team, clearly the best player in the game. And watching his high school tape, it's like the most extreme version of that, just blowing every play up.
Yeah, just wrecking the game. Yeah, that's super exciting. He's going to be great to watch with Winery over the next 2 years.
Yes, and getting 2 guys like back-to-back signing classes with 5-star defensive ends.
Yeah,
sheesh. Couple Missouri guys towards the top of the list, Jack Lange and Dayton Hopkins. Lange, offensive lineman from Eureka, Missouri.
Yeah.
Hopkins, another edge rusher from Herman, Missouri, wine country.
Lange especially, I think people are really, really high on him at Missouri, and I think he could be a really special offensive lineman.
And then the replacements for Morrow in the Class 2 running backs, Brendan Haygood, former Boise State commit from Texas, kind of like a fringe 4-star, 3-star, depending on where you look, listed at 5'10", 180. But then I'm excited about this kid, Marquise Davis. Flipped his commitment from Kentucky to Mizzou, and he is listed at 6 foot 210. And I know some of the guys in the Discord have been begging for quote unquote big back for a while. And I agree. And I feel like Davis,
he's a stud.
Yeah. And a couple years into the strength and conditioning program, watch out.
Yeah. Yeah. We haven't had the greatest track record with like bringing in running backs as like freshmen, and feels like our best players a lot of the times, like in the last few years, have been transfers. But we've got a lot of freshman talent.
Yeah,
and I think that could change.
Yeah, a little bit of a gap there from like Larry Roundtree.
Yeah,
Like we had like Crockett, Roundtree, Beatty, and
Yes.
then it was like a
Like
lot
a
of
couple of years of transfers.
and but now
Jamal Roberts has been in there, but
yeah, with Roberts, Lacey, and this these freshmen coming in, a nice little stable of running backs. Honestly, I don't know enough about every single one of these guys to dive into each one of them. There's 17 signees total. Offensive lineman, 4-star offensive lineman Henry Fanuku is a guy that's been committed for a long time. Good to see him sign.
I love just like the general strategy though that they brought with this class. It's a smaller class than we would probably see historically. I think a lot of our classes have been more in the like 20 to 25 range. This is 17. But they really I felt like they took big swings and connected on a lot of guys and kind of left room for some impact transfers as well. And that might just kind of be the trend, honestly, going forward.
Yeah.
And it might for Missouri or really for college football at the highest levels, period, is just take 15 to 17 guys and then leave some scholarships available for transfers.
Yeah, and Coach Drinkwitz alluded to that to some degree, that they've kind of found a flow to recruiting that they're comfortable with. And obviously, if more top-tier guys wanted to commit to Mizzou, they would take them. But they're not exactly looking to fill out the recruiting class with 8 to 12 3-star guys.
Yeah.
And it's interesting looking down at the class rankings by team. And yeah, I mean, Oklahoma is sitting there with 18 commits. They're 16th in the rankings. You got Missouri there with 17. And then Clemson has the 26th ranked class, has 15 commits. Everybody else is 20 plus. I mean, Georgia 27, Ohio State 26. So yeah, I mean, but I like that strategy. I mean, get the guys, the headlining, top 5 guys of the class. When you got a handful of guys that are like in the top 25 recruits, highest rated recruits in the history of the program, according to the databases, it's just, you're just stacking good classes on top of each other, and it's going to go well.
Mm-hmm. Remember the name Javion Boggs?
Oh yeah.
He was at one point a Missouri commit.
Yeah.
He decommitted and went to UCF. And
he's from Florida.
He's from Florida. Yeah. Today, he flipped to Florida State.
Right.
Following Gus Malzahn.
Gus Malzahn was the head coach at UCF.
Yes.
And is now taking the offensive coordinator job at Florida State.
Yeah.
They must be throwing around some cash to try to revitalize that thing.
It's going to take more
Florida
than
State.
that, man.
Yeah.
They're the worst team I've ever seen.
Do you feel like Mike Norvell is going to be one of those guys that he's going to just go back to being a coordinator somewhere and be incredibly successful?
Probably should.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's got a lot of influence, clearly, but I'm not sure he knows how to run a program.
Yeah, it's wild to see it go that poorly at a place like Florida State.
Truly awful.
I know this is maybe a tenuous connection here, but I just was reminded of Brady Cook in the post-game press conference after the Arkansas game, talking about the change in I'm thinking about like program culture at Florida State, how it is probably not great. But Brady Cook said he used the word toxic to describe the culture of the Mizzou football program when Coach Drinkwitz took over. Mm-hmm. And that was a point that Coach and Brady Cook touched on a couple times, is just like, Coach didn't call it a 180. He said maybe like 160 degree difference.
Yeah.
From his first season to now, as far as everybody being on the same page and buying in. And he said, he himself had to grow and change and figure out how to do this the right way and build up the trust and respect from the players. Mm-hmm. And that is maybe the biggest thing from these last 2 seasons, besides the wins. I mean, obviously they go hand in hand, but I feel like you can just see it. You can see it on the field. You see it in the press conferences.
And I think Brady Cook was a big piece of that as well.
For sure. Yes. Yeah. Those two just kind of establishing that culture together and relying on each other to reinforce it the whole way.
Yeah.
Man, you just...
Yeah. Coach Drinkwitz that's what he does, man.
Yeah.
He's a leader, and he gets people to buy into what he believes and what he wants to do. And yeah, like, were we the most talented teams you've ever seen? Clearly no, but we probably outperformed our talent level because of the buy-in, because of the brotherhood, all that stuff. Sounds cheesy, maybe is a little bit, but man, it got guys to buy in and play together.
And Coach Drinkwitz obviously gave a huge shout out to Luther Burden and just basically boiled it down to, after he decided to come to Mizzou, the rest, almost didn't matter, because he made the decision that changed. He didn't quite say changed everything, but he did. Coach Drinkwitz did say changed the trajectory of my career when Luther Burden committed. And yeah, it just can't be overstated, the impact that's had on recruiting and the buzz around the program, the fan base.
And then to back it up and actually be one of the best players in the country.
Yeah. He's going to be a first-round draft pick.
There's highly rated recruits that come into college football every year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 5-star players that come in and don't do anything ever.
Right.
But Luther Burden broke that trend, and he was a very, very meaningful figure to Missouri and the state of Missouri. And I love that Coach Drinkwitz came out and said that. And it's true.
Yeah.
It's 100% true.
And I feel like looking at this signing class, this 2025 signing class, Matt Zollers, you obviously, fingers crossed. I mean, he had a horrific injury that ended his senior season in high school. But coming back from that, I feel like Zollers is the type of guy that maybe 3 or 4 years from now, people will be having a similar conversation. Luther Burden, being from St. Louis, having all the big dogs after him, being committed to Oklahoma, the way that recruitment all played out was like legendary.
Yeah.
But as far as getting a top tier player who has potential to be impactful, getting a borderline 5-star quarterback,
Yeah.
Matt Zollers is going to be a guy that's going to be, his Mizzou debut is going to be highly anticipated.
For sure.
And he's got the skills to be one of the greats if he puts it all together. We talked about a lot. My goodness. Portal signing day. The portal season's fun.
It is.
It's
fun.
hard to keep track of it all, but it's fun.
Yeah. I can't wait to see who Missouri goes after.
So far, no big departures from Mizzou.
Luther Burden's going pro.
Well, yeah.
We knew that.
No surprises.
No surprises yet. Oh, do you just wait?
That part I'm not looking forward to.
Luther Burden wasted no time.
That's true.
Announcing.
Yeah. He stepped off the field. It's been real.
Yeah.
I'm going pro.
Yeah. He did say he was going to love Mizzou forever.
Of course. Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
And we love him. Kyle, I'm transitioning us into SEC Pick'em plus Nebraska here. Do you know what Tyler did last week?
Yeah. He did better than I did.
He ran the table.
Ooh.
And that was a lot of games to pick, and he did lean on the favorites quite a bit.
He talked some smack, though, and he backed it up.
True. He said he was going to I don't remember the wording, but he was like, I got this. And then he went and picked a perfect week.
What a boss.
And the only one you missed was Louisville, Kentucky.
One that I felt like I was making a mistake in the moment, but just went for it.
Yeah.
And it was the wrong call.
And so the guest pickers have 1 point on you. That was really the only excitement, right? Producer Cameron, was that Kentucky Louisville game?
Nebraska had a chance to make things interesting for producer Cameron.
That's true.
Yeah, that would have helped me, but it didn't.
So we're basic. I'm so far removed. It's not even worth tallying up my score anymore.
Yeah, I'm too far back at this point.
Yeah.
Let's see. I had 7 points last week. Cam had 8. Kyle had 10. Guest pickers had 11. Season totals: Cam 79. I have 84.
Said it wasn't necessary.
Kyle 90. Guest pickers 91.
Running out of runway here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
90-91.
One game this week.
The SEC championship game. Your thoughts? You know who's playing in it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
A little rematch of Texas, Georgia.
Number 5, Georgia. And where are they playing?
I was
that at?
literally about to ask this question. Where are they playing?
Atlanta?
Yeah. It's always Atlanta. Home game for Georgia.
Basically. Number 5, Georgia versus number 2, Texas. Texas is a 2.5-point favorite.
Now, I don't know. I maybe don't know the latest, but the guest pickers were really putting their heads together, trying to get their strategy straight for who to pick here.
I'll be honest, like, I have not even had a chance to look at Discord.
Yeah.
And when I got here today, you guys were like, don't look at Discord. I'm like, okay, I won't. So I don't know what the narrative is. I don't know what the conversation has been.
Well, they were just putting their heads together and, not making any rash decisions and just really thinking through their options. You got a 1-point lead.
Takes an army.
Yeah.
Takes an army to take us down.
Yeah. So they have a 1-point lead, which is one game here. And so they were trying to be strategic about it. So we'll leave their pick for last. Can Georgia do it again?
I think I know what I want to do.
Talk us through it. Talk us through your thought process here.
I've had a bit of a narrative
Yeah.
going all season that I just haven't quite had a chance to, put some money behind.
Yeah.
And that has been that Texas is overrated.
Yeah.
And I said it even before the season started. I think Texas will be around, but I don't think that they're as good as their ranking will be. And I still believe that to be true. They played Georgia once. It's probably the only legitimately good team they've played all season.
Okay.
And they didn't win.
Right.
They've had an incredibly favorable schedule for SEC standards.
Mm-hmm.
I think UMass has had a tougher schedule than them.
Right. They lost to Georgia 30-15.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to beat a team twice,
True.
but I believe they will.
You think Georgia's going to pull it off?
And I'm going Georgia.
Wow. And
Wow.
I had a feeling you would. It was interesting because I don't even know what they settled on, but because I checked out before, I kind of wanted it to be a surprise. But they were thinking that you would pick Texas just because you've, had opportunities to pick against them and chosen not to in the past.
And correctly didn't.
That's true.
Except I did pick Georgia the first time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. This is the time. This is the moment where Texas is just not going to live up to the billing.
It does, like, narratively, Georgia letting Texas win the SEC championship in their first year in the league, when
It's
Georgia's
blasphemy.
won multiple national championships.
They've been here before. This is their turf.
They've beaten Alabama in the in the SEC championship game and the national championship.
Yeah.
So they've been around the block doing this more recently. Not that my pick matters in the slightest, but I agree with you. I'm going to go with Georgia.
Georgia all around.
Oh,
Dang. Well,
Georgia all around. Incredible.
Boo.
Yeah, I was watching them kind of think it through, and I was sitting there thinking, Kyle's going to pick Georgia. They should also pick Georgia,
yeah.
but without knowing what you were going to pick, they were debating it back and forth.
Yeah.
I actually went through. I just had to ask them just now what their final pick was because I couldn't actually tell what their final pick was. But
Yeah, they were.
Well,
going
and just
Georgia.
it's the easy upset points too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
the 2-point underdogs
Right,
when I really truly think they're the better team.
exactly.
Got to do it.
well,
gotta do
shoot,
it.
I might as well take Texas.
Yeah.
no harm
Hey,
in
might
that.
as well.
Yeah, you never know how many games we're going to pick here
You never
down
know.
the stretch.
Never know.
Yeah, Georgia lost at Alabama, at Ole Miss. Georgia's going to be ready. So yeah, see you on the gridiron, everybody. Good luck to you. There's going to be some pretty fun conference championship games, I think.
Yeah. It's a fun time of year.
What do I do next? Say all the names.
Sure.
I'm using my wife's computer.
Again.
Yeah, I left mine at work. But special thank you to our Patreon supporters. Britt Treese, Ryan D. Moore, Tristan Ben Smith, Parker Daddy Jaddy, Tim Keynes, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Groffalo, Brandon Hanks, Matthew Tilley, Louis Hernandez, Joshua Jacobson, Devontae, and Aaron Houlihan. Thank you.
Jazzy JD.
That's it.
Daddy JD, thank you specifically. We love you. And we love everyone else that's listening right now.
Yeah.
You can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod. And you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com. The music's going to fade out because I didn't fix it this week, but I don't know what we'll do. We'll just leave it.
Thank you, Aaron, for listening.
Wait. Please, if you want a t-shirt, go get one.
We're having a clearance sale.
Everything must go.
Blowout sale.
Blowout sale.
Are we actually reducing the price?
I guess we can. Yeah, might as well. I'll do it right now.
Do some markdowns.
Yep.
Yeah. We have select t-shirts still available.
We got these cool little things.
Premium.
Little enamel pins. Go get one of those. I don't know. Everything's on sale.
Everything's on sale. Enamel pins. Come get them. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week after a win in basketball. We'll speak Kansas.